The silent departure. The chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light and sound. Tall pillars of crystal reflected the glow of floating orbs. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy sat in their seats, their robes, armor, and scales, shining proudly. For the first time in many cycles, the Council felt united. And the reason was simple. Humanity was gone. A grand speaker, a tall insectoid with wings that shimmered like glass, tapped the crystal podium. His voice rang through the hall. Let it be known across the stars, humanity has departed. The troublemakers of the galaxy have left in silence. No war, no protest, no farewell. They simply walked away. Laughter echoed through the chamber. Heavy-bodied reptilian lords banged their tails on the floor in celebration. Feathered avians clapped their wings. The Council had always feared the humans, always whispered about their unpredictability and stubborn pride. But now, with their quiet disappearance, the arrogance of the other races rose like smoke. They thought themselves important. Another delegate sneered, his tusks glinting in the light. Yet they vanished without a word. Perhaps they realized they could never match the greatness of this council. Around the hall, cheers grew louder. Some drank toasts of victory. Others marked the event as a day of galactic peace. For centuries, humanity had been a thorn in the Council's side. They had resisted laws, challenged authority, and refused to kneel. And now, without warning, they had simply left. No messages, no ambassadors, no ships in orbit. Their colonies were abandoned. Their stations stood empty. Their fleets vanished into the dark. To most, this was proof that humans had been weak all along. But not everyone shared that belief. Near the edge of the hall, an old delegate sat in silence. His name was Sarikar, a long-lived scholar of the Vayari, a species known for their wisdom. His eyes did not glow with celebration. Instead, they were heavy with unease. He leaned toward his aide and whispered, "Do you not find this strange?" The aide blinked. "Strange, Elder. Humanity has finally accepted their place. They are gone." Sarikar shook his head slowly. No species that stubborn leaves quietly. No species that survived wars, plagues, and famine simply vanishes. They left, but not without reason. His words were ignored. Across the chamber, a massive holographic display appeared, showing empty human colonies. Once bustling cities stood dark under alien suns. The Council broadcasted images of silence as proof of their victory. "They are finished," the speaker declared proudly, "and the galaxy will be better without them." But far away in forgotten trade routes and deep voids, silence had already begun to change the galaxy. Merchant ships reported delays. Automated repair drones, built by humans decades ago, were no longer functioning. Stations once maintained by human engineers now groaned and flickered with power failures. Trade lanes grew dangerous, as pirates tested their strength on unprotected convoys. Yet in the Council chamber, no one spoke of this. They only laughed at humanity's quiet exit. One avian lord leaned back, his feathers ruffling. It was always arrogance with them. They built ships too strong, too fast, as if preparing for wars no one else imagined. And now, where are those ships? Dust in the void. "Good riddance," another said. "The galaxy is free of their noise." But Sarikar did not smile. He remembered human eyes, sharp, burning, and unyielding. He remembered the way they had stood in council meetings, never bowing, never silenced, even when surrounded by hundreds of alien voices. He remembered their words. "We don't need the Council. The Council needs us." Now those words rang in his mind like a warning. As the celebrations grew louder, the great doors of the chamber opened. A messenger rushed in, holding a glowing tutipad. His scales were pale with fear. "Report from the outer colonies," he shouted. "An entire fleet of automated harvesters has stopped. Food shipments delayed. Entire systems risk famine." The laughter dimmed for a moment. Delegates shifted uncomfortably, but the insectoid speaker waved his hand dismissively. "Minor troubles. Without humans, there will be challenges, but we are the Council. We will adapt." The chamber cheered again, though weaker this time. Yet Sarakar's unease deepened. He leaned on his cane, staring at the glowing pillars. He whispered so quietly only he could hear. They did not surrender. They are waiting. Outside the council chamber, the galaxy turned slowly. Silent human stations drifted through orbit, abandoned yet untouched. Long corridors remained dark, but deep within, hidden systems pulsed faintly with power. No one noticed. No one cared. Not yet. For now, the council celebrated. For now, they believed humanity had disappeared, without a fight. But in the dark void, between stars where human fleets once sailed, silence was not weakness. It was preparation, and the galaxy would learn that lesson too late. The first cracks weeks passed since humanity's quiet departure. The Galactic Council carried on with their arrogant pride, holding banquets and declaring a new golden age. But far beyond their shining chamber, reality began to tear at the edges. On the border systems, merchant ships slowed. Hyperlanes, once kept safe by human patrols, now turned into hunting grounds. Pirates emerged from asteroid belts and nebulae, their ships crude, yet fearless. For centuries, pirates had been hunted down by human captains, mercilessly, without hesitation. Now, with humans gone, no one dared to confront them. A cargo hauler drifting near the Ithar cluster sent a final message before being cut to static. The crew's terrified voices echoed across comms. "Where are the humans? They never let this happen." Then silence. Inside the council chambers, reports piled high, but the delegates dismissed them. "Pirates are a minor nuisance," one reptilian admiral scoffed. "Our fleets are powerful. We do not need humans to deal with bandits." Yet when fleets were dispatched, they faltered. Ships broke down. Engines failed mid-route. Entire armadas turned back, limping, humiliated. The truth was simple, though no one wanted to say it aloud. The humans had been the ones who maintained those fleets. Human engineers had redesigned reactors, patched broken systems, and written codes that kept starships alive. Without them, technology that seemed invincible was crumbling. In a dim-lit chamber on the ocean world of Thrylos, a group of merchants met in secret. They spoke in hushed tones away from the ears of the council. "My freighters are stranded. My engines won't restart. Entire routes are collapsing." Finally, one alien, his gills flaring nervously, whispered what? None dared to say. "We mocked them. But humans were the spine of the galaxy, and now the spine is broken." Rumors began to spread. In the cantinas of frontier worlds, whispers filled the air. The humans didn't leave, they're hiding, watching. Some swore they had seen ghostly signals, encrypted transmissions in human code, flickering on forgotten stations. Others claimed abandoned colonies still showed faint power signatures, as if someone or something had returned to keep the lights on. In one mining colony, deep in the iron belt of Cadris, a patrol found something strange. An entire human outpost, supposedly deserted, was alive with humming energy. Doors sealed shut, lights glowing faintly, but no humans inside. Only silence, and a symbol carved on the main gate. The crest of Earth's old fleet. The patrol fled, trembling. "They're not gone," they reported. "They're waiting." Back in the council's grand chamber, the mood shifted. Reports of food shortages grew dire. Automated farming stations, once designed and monitored by human technicians, began to fail. Crops withered under alien suns. Whole worlds sent pleas for help. A proud avian delegate slammed his wings in frustration. "This is sabotage. Humanity must have planted traps before leaving." Sarakar, the old Vayari scholar, rose slowly to his feet. His voice was calm, but heavy with warning. "Not sabotage, dependence. We depended on them more than we admitted. Their machines kept our worlds alive. Their engineers held the stars together, and we laughed when they walked away." His words silenced the chamber. No one wanted to believe it, yet, deep down, they all knew. The council had mocked humanity for being noisy, stubborn, and reckless. But in truth, Humans had done what no other species dared. They worked the hardest jobs, fought the ugliest wars, and stood where others fell. Now, with their absence, the galaxy itself was showing cracks. That night, in the great halls of the Council, the insectoid speaker received a priority message. It was encrypted, not in Council code, but in a string of human symbols, glowing in green. His aides scrambled to decode it, but none could. At last, the message translated into a single line. "You will understand silence soon." The speaker's wings trembled. For the first time, he felt fear. Meanwhile, in the deep void, far beyond Council sensors, massive shadows drifted. They were ships, human ships, silent, black, without beacons. Entire fleets hidden inside nebulae, their engines cold, waiting. Their presence was not loud or boastful. It was patient, watching. The galaxy had believed humanity's silence meant surrender, but already, whispers spread across colonies, soldiers, and even council halls. Silence was never weakness. It was the beginning of something else. Collapse of arrogance. The Galactic Council chamber no longer echoed with laughter. Weeks had turned into months, and the galaxy was unraveling faster than anyone had imagined. The celebrations of humanity's quiet departure were now bitter memories, replaced by endless reports of failure. Across the core systems, fleets lay stranded. Engines that once roared with power now sputtered and died in the middle of hyperlanes. Weapons misfired, shields flickered, and once mighty warships became floating coffins. Without human engineers, without human codebreakers, without human stubbornness to fix the unfixable, the great navies of the Council were falling apart. Trade routes collapsed. Hunger spread across colonies. Planets that once relied on shipments of food and medicine cried out for aid, but no aid came. Delegates arrived at the Council chamber with desperation in their voices. Gone were the proud boasts of superiority. Now they shouted, argued, and blamed each other. "This is your fault," roared the reptilian warlord, his scaled fists slamming the desk. "You told us humans were weak, that we could live without them." "They abandoned us," screamed a feathered delegate, his voice cracking. "They sabotaged everything before they left. They cursed the galaxy." In the chaos, Sarakar, the old Vayari scholar, rose slowly to his feet. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "No sabotage, no curse. This is the price of arrogance. We mocked them. We depended on them more than we admitted. And now, we are paying." The chamber grew quiet for a moment, but pride still clouded their hearts. The insectoid speaker stood tall, his wings shimmering faintly. "Do not listen to fear. The Council has ruled for centuries. We survived wars and plagues long before humans crawled into the stars. We will survive this too." But even as he spoke, his aides handed him a datapad with trembling hands. On the screen was a fleet report. Half the Council's core ships were grounded. The others could barely leave dock. Repair crews were helpless, their knowledge shallow compared to the human engineers who had built the foundations of their systems. The insectoid speaker faltered for a heartbeat. His voice cracked. This is temporary." But the truth could no longer be hidden. In the outer colonies, chaos ruled. Pirates grew bold, carving empires from abandoned roots. Entire worlds burned under raiders who no longer feared retribution. When cries for help reached the Council, only silence answered. The Council's fleets could not come. They were broken, rusting shadows of their former glory. The galaxy remembered the humans then. Not the humans who argued in Council chambers, but the ones who stood on battlefields, on broken ships, on dying worlds, fighting when no one else would. Humanity had always been reckless, yes, but they were fearless. And now, in their absence, fear consumed the stars. Rumors grew louder. On mining stations and trade hubs, whispers filled the air. "I saw a ship," one merchant said. "It was human. Black hull, no markings, watching." Another swore he received a transmission in human code, warning him to turn back before his convoy was destroyed. "They're still here," he whispered. "They never left." The council dismissed these as paranoia, but unease was spreading even within their own ranks. Delegates who once mocked humans now avoided saying their name. Some even feared speaking against them, as if the silence itself was listening. One night in the council's core datanet, something extraordinary happened. Entire systems of information went dark. Then across every screen, across every world tied to the council's network, a message appeared. Short, sharp, and unmistakably human. You laughed. Now you understand. Panic swept the chamber when the report reached them. No one knew how to trace the signal. No one could decode the origin. The best cyber minds of the council were helpless against human encryption. The insectoid speaker's wings shook with fury. This is terrorism. They dare insult us even after leaving. But Sarikar only bowed his head. Not terrorism. Reminder. They told us long ago. The council needs them more than they need the council. The chamber erupted again, but beneath the shouting, fear lingered. For the first time, the mighty council began to realize the truth. Their empire was collapsing, not by war but by absence. And still, in the void between stars, shadows moved. Human fleets drifted in silence, dark and waiting. No weapons fired, no banners waved. Only patience, as if they were letting the galaxy choke on its own pride before making themselves known. The galaxy had thought humanity's silence was weakness. But now, silence was louder than war, and the council was finally starting to hear it. The return of shadows, the galaxy was breaking apart. Fleets were crippled, colonies starved, and pirates grew fat on stolen trade routes. The council, once so proud, now sat in chambers heavy with silence. No one laughed anymore, no one boasted. They only argued in whispers, their arrogance shrinking with each report of disaster. But even in their darkest hours, a new fear began to spread, not of pirates, not of famine, but of something else. Something older, something familiar. At first, it was just rumors. A convoy near the Kelric Nebula swore they were followed by a massive shadow. The captain claimed he saw a silhouette of a ship, larger than anything in council records, drifting without light. No engines, no signal. Only a black outline against the stars. When his crew tried to scan it, their systems failed, and the shadow was gone. On another frontier world, a pirate fleet vanished without a trace. Dozens of raider ships entered a system, burning settlements, but none came out. Local miners reported seeing flashes in the sky, bright arcs of fire followed by silence. When scouts arrived days later, they found only wreckage drifting in orbit. No survivors, no attackers, only shards of metal and scorch marks that looked terrifyingly human. The whispers spread quickly. They're back. The humans are watching. They never really left. The council tried to bury these stories, calling them myths and fear tactics. But then came the transmissions. Across dozens of worlds, faint signals appeared, encrypted in human code. Sometimes just static, sometimes a single chilling word. Observe. No one could break the encryption. No one could trace the origin. Even the council's most advanced machines were helpless. And so, fear grew. In the council chamber, the insectoid speaker's wings shook as he slammed a claw against the podium. These are tricks, pirates pretending to be humans. Do not believe these lies. But Sarikar, the old Vayari scholar, rose again. His voice was low, steady, and carried across the room. You call it lies because you are afraid. But the truth is clear. Humanity is here. Not in your halls, not at your tables, but in the shadows. Watching. Deciding. The chamber erupted in shouts. Some demanded the council hunt down these so-called human fleets. Others begged for negotiations. But no one could agree because no one truly understood what humanity wanted. They had left in silence, and now they had returned in silence. On the edge of the galaxy, the answer was already being written in fire. A council fleet, desperate to reclaim order, launched an assault against a growing pirate stronghold in the Alaris Belt. Thousands of alien soldiers filled the warships, eager to prove they could restore control. But as the fleet entered the system, strange things began to happen. Their sensors flickered, their comms scrambled, engines stalled for no reason, and then shadows appeared on their radars, massive ships, silent, no council insignia, no identification codes, just cold, black hulls drifting like ghosts. The admiral, a proud avian commander, ordered an attack. "Destroy them. They are pirates, hiding in stolen shells." But before his words could echo, the ghost ships moved. Not with blinding speed, not with flashy weapons. They moved with precision. A single pulse of light tore through the admiral's flagship, cutting it in half. Another ship was swallowed by fire before it even had time to raise shields. The council fleet broke. Soldiers screamed across comms, begging for orders, but no orders came. Within hours, the fleet was gone. Not captured, not scattered. Gone. Only wreckage floated, drifting silently into the dark. When the council received the report, no one spoke. The silence in the chamber was heavier than iron. Finally, a trembling aide placed a final transmission before the delegates. The recording was short. Only a voice, filtered through static, unmistakably human. "The galaxy belongs to no council. Order will be kept. By us." The delegates froze. For centuries, they had mocked humanity as reckless, noisy, undisciplined. Now humanity had vanished into silence and returned as shadows, patient and merciless. The insectoid speaker slumped, in his seat wings dull with fear. "We celebrated their departure," he whispered, "and now they decide our future from the dark." Sarikar closed his eyes. "I told you, silence was never weakness. Silence was a warning." And across the stars, ghost fleets continued to drift, silent, cold, but watching everything. They did not attack every system, nor did they conquer planets. They struck only when chaos grew too loud, when pirates rose too high, when the council's failure spread too far. They were not rulers. They were shadows of judgment. The galaxy now lived under a new law, not the law of the council, not the law of treaties or chambers, the law of silence, the law of humanity. And everyone knew the shadows could strike anywhere at any time. The final lesson: the galaxy no longer looked to the council for protection. Their fleets were broken, their words hollow, their authority shattered. The only thing holding the stars together now was fear. Fear of the silent shadows that drifted at the edges of systems, unseen but always felt. Humanity had not returned with banners, armies, or grand speeches. They returned with silence, and silence ruled better than the council ever had. On trade routes once plagued by pirates, convoys now moved safely again. Raiders who dared to strike vanished within hours. Their wreckage later found drifting in cold space. No one saw the humans who carried out these strikes. No one heard their voices. Only whispers remained. They are watching. They are everywhere. On colony worlds, starving from famine, food shipments suddenly arrived. No explanation, no trade agreements, no official council stamp. Just cargo pods filled with supplies, dropped silently into orbit. The council tried to claim credit, but everyone knew the truth. It was the humans. Always the humans. The council met in their grand chamber one last time to discuss this growing shadow rule. The insectoid speaker looked older now. His wings faded. His voice shook as he addressed the delegates. "We are no longer leaders. The galaxy listens not to us, but to ghosts. If humanity decides, then what role remains for the council?" The chamber was silent. For once, no delegate shouted. No one argued. They all knew the answer. From the back, Sarikar, the Vayari scholar, spoke. His words were heavy, almost like prophecy. "Humanity does not need to sit in these chambers. They do not need to rule with words. They rule with presence, they rule with silence, that is enough." The insectoid speaker's mandibles clicked nervously. "Then what do we do?" Sarikar's eyes closed. "We survive, and we remember the lesson." Across the stars, that lesson became clear. Power did not belong to those who shouted the loudest, or those who held the biggest chamber. It belonged to those who acted when no one else dared. Humanity had proven that. They did not demand loyalty. They did not demand obedience. They demanded nothing at all. Yet their silence bent the galaxy more than any fleet or council law ever. And on a frontier world called Dralos, a child looked up at the night sky and saw a black silhouette moving slowly across the stars. Her parents pulled her inside, whispering in fear. But the child smiled. The humans are here. We are safe. On a pirate moon, the last surviving raider broadcast a desperate message before his base was obliterated by a single silent strike. They're not gone. They're the dark between the stars. You can't fight silence. His words became a legend, repeated in fearful tones across the galaxy. The humans never showed their faces. They never asked for tribute or glory. They never announced their intentions. They simply existed, quiet, patient, unstoppable. And so a strange new peace fell over the galaxy. Not the peace of treaties or the peace of obedience. It was the peace of fear, respect, and memory. No one dared rise too high. No one dared mock humanity again. In time, the council itself began to shrink. Worlds stopped sending delegates. Fleets stopped wearing the council's crest. The chamber that once glittered with arrogance grew empty, its pillars silent. The council had believed it ruled forever, but now it was only a hollow reminder of pride. The real rulers had no throne. They had no chamber. They needed none. One evening, as Sarikar stood on the balcony of his home world, he looked at the horizon and whispered to himself, "They gave us silence, and we mistook it for weakness. We laughed at it. We celebrated it. And now, silence is all that rules us." Above him, stars shimmered. Somewhere out there, hidden among the shadows, humanity watched, waiting. And the galaxy finally understood the final lesson. Silence was never the end. It was the beginning of their rule.